Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the Minerva webinar, Photonics for Life Science and Industrial Manufacturing in Japan. My name is Margherita Rosada, and I am going to be the moderator for this webinar. Before starting, I would like to introduce our today's lecturer, Mr. Sarunas Vasquez, who will mainly base his presentation on the results of a 6-month research he did last year in Japan in the framework of the Minerva EU-Japan Fellowship. Mr. Vasquez has a wide-ranging experience in biophysics and photonics, both related to research and industry. He studied computing physics and biophysics at the Vilnius University and at the Center for Physical Sciences and Technologies, which is the biggest research institute in Lithuania. During this period, he has been managing industrial projects in research and development. After his studies, he spent 1 year in Japan, where he worked for the Hitachi Central Research Laboratory on a research related to biophysics. Once back to Europe, Sarunas continued his research at the Center for Physical Sciences and Technologies in Lithuania. He then joined Altechna, a company based in Lithuania, where he focused on optics and optical systems with different applications. In winter 2017-18, he was back to Japan for a research on the photonics industry in the context of the Minerva EU-Japan Fellowship. During this period, he was in touch with the local companies, he attended industrial events, and he had the opportunity to analyze this market. I will now give the floor to Sarunas Vasquez for his lecture.
Thank you very much, Margarita. Hello, everyone. Thank you for the introduction. I hope the information today can help smaller companies involved with photonics from Europe that still doesn't do much work with Japan to get a better feel of the market and make decisions on the first steps, whether it's events, distributors, potential customers, research institutions, and so on. So as mentioned, the presentation is based on the research done in Japan from October to April. The presentation is expected to take about 30 minutes. And in the end, I will try to answer any questions that you might have. Please write them in the chat box. It is structured like this. First of all, I will introduce the photonics market and how does Japan look in the big picture. Then an overview of the companies, distributors, and organizations. After that will be the introduction of the research institutions with the analysis of the public procurements. One before the last section is the events overview, and we'll finish with a look at the challenges and opportunities of this market in Japan. The companies that I had conversations with are Hamamatsu Photonics, Sony, Fujikura, and other companies including distributors, plus associations and research institutions like CLETI. The visited events were the industry events in certain sectors like semiconductor, manufacturing, nanotech, battery, and so on. Also photonics exhibitions, conferences, and a workshop by EPIC on photonic integrated circuits. All of this helped to get the information and advice from the professionals in the field about the market in Japan. I am very grateful for the time and generosity of all the people that I have chance to talk to. So, under industrial manufacturing sector are the companies doing laser processing equipment, lasers, optics, and other components, and also inspection systems. And under life science group, also laser processing equipment, spectroscopy, and other diagnostic and measurement systems. The market. So, in 2015, the global photonics products market was 447 billion euros. The European part was 69.2 billion. Japan's domestic market also was about the same size, 68 billion euros. The US has the similar share, then follows Korea, Taiwan, and the biggest chunk belongs to China. The picture is very different when the country of the company headquarters is used for counting. In such a case, Japan still has the biggest share of 30%, with Europe, US, and China having 14% each. As you can see, in China, half of the production is done by overseas companies, and Japan controls the big part of that. In the global photonics, data-related technologies are clearly dominating the industry, followed by photovoltaics. And these also very big industries in Japan, but in Europe, they are not so significant. Europe actually has the biggest global share in the industrial manufacturing sector. Life science and medical technologies are also very successful sectors for Europe. These sectors are also on the rise globally too, with 6.4% increase in production technology, and measurement and imaging also increased by 5.8%. The trend of industrial manufacturing moving towards automation, flexibility, and quality control is driving this need for laser material processing and inspection. Medical technology and life science also grew significantly by 7.2%. Total photonics growth was also by 6.7%. In Japan, Japanese companies were pioneers in many segments of photonics, especially information technology and displays. Just a bit over 10 years ago, Japan was the major producer of photonics in the world. Now, according to the data from OATDA, the Japanese Optoelectronics Association that provides the data about the photonics in Japan, Japan's domestic photonics market is valued at 68 billion euro, and if including the production done overseas, that number is still an impressive 126 billion euros in 2015. Nevertheless, Japan's photonics market in 2015 was shrinking by 5.1%, but the target sectors of laser processing and medical applications was increasing following the global trend. So laser processing increased by 13.5%, sensing and measurement by 2.8%, but these two sectors account for just a small part of the whole market. So photonics has a long history in Japan. Optics industry has been established beginning with the Optical Research Lab in Tokyo in 1906. Since then, various clusters of research and manufacturing of various optical components and instruments started to grow. Companies like Olympus, Canon, Nikon, and others emerged. These clusters and optics innovation also gave the start to laser research. The first laser was developed in 1960. The development came from the ruby crystal studies in the 1950s and in the industrial laboratories. Later, the development was supported by the Japanese government to develop CO2, YAG, and argon laser, and then to bring this technology to the industry. At the time of 1990, Japan was manufacturing thousands of CO2 and YAG laser units per year. The top manufacturers were Fanuc, Amada, Hitachi, Mitsubishi, NEC, and many other companies. During that time, local suppliers like that had over 80% of Japanese market, with less than 20% going to the overseas producers. The majority of the systems were imported from Ferranti, PRC lasers that are not operational anymore, and Trumpf, and others, of course. Many of these Japanese industrial companies have survived up to now, but the majority of them are not producing lasers anymore. Okay, let's take a look at the companies related to photonics in Japan. And according to economists, in Japan, about 99% of businesses are SMEs. Out of them, only 11% are doing manufacturing. Still, big corporations are leading the industry. Over 50% of identified companies were located in the Kanto area, that is around Tokyo. Other centers are around Shizuoka and Aichi, then down to Osaka, Kyoto area, and the smallest one up north in Akita. These numbers were calculated from the relevant Japanese companies that were identified during the research. Some of the top distributors also confirmed that from the revenue point of view, more than 50% come from the Kanto area. And then what are those companies doing? So from over 180 identified companies, over 150 are active in the industrial manufacturing sector, and just about 13 in the life science. The biggest category is laser processing equipment, then follows optics, then laser products and laser manufacturers. From the life science sector, the biggest category is spectroscopy solutions, and details about how this categorization was done you can find in the market report that this research resulted in. And Japan is among the leaders in the world of machining equipment producers. Majority of the companies are producing laser cutting, drilling, and welding equipment. Like Enshu and Amada are some of the companies that are making machining systems, and for part of their products, they use lasers for processing. Amada is also producing some of its fiber lasers in-house. DMG Mori is producing fiber laser sintering and metal processing machines. Ricoh manufactures picosecond laser patterning equipment. Also, there are companies like LaserX, developers of custom laser processing solutions. Japan also has the world's largest 100 kilowatt IPG photonics laser at Nadex Laser R&D Center. Nadex is a company doing business with the automotive industry and manufacturing welding systems. Worth to mention is Panasonic, a big consumer of photonics products and one of the biggest battery cell manufacturer with almost 30% global market share. The second most populated sector is optics on the right. There are many small companies manufacturing various optical components. Some of them are very specialized, for example, Technical Corporation, making only prisms. There are a few big companies like Nikon and Kyocera that also manufactures optical components. Sigma Koki, or OptoSigma, the global brand, is one of the well-known specialized optics producers. According to very rough estimates, there are over 100 various size optical producers in Japan. Many of the smaller optics producers can be met at the exhibitions like Science Photonics Fair in Tokyo. And there are not many laser manufacturing companies in Japan anymore. As mentioned, only a few remain. Companies like Mitsubishi, NTT, Fujikura, and Omron are still manufacturing lasers. Mitsubishi and Fanuc are making CO2 lasers. Spectronics is a picosecond and nanosecond laser producer from Osaka. Gigaphoton makes gigantic excimer lasers used in semiconductor lithography. It is also one of the leading producers in the world that used to be part of Komatsu. Fujikura is also a huge Japanese company and also produces fiber lasers with all the production steps in-house to control the quality and the price. However, nowadays overseas companies are confidently dominating the market regarding the lasers. IPG, Trump, Lumentum, Coherent, Spectra Physics, and other companies, these are the most popular lasers in Japan. All of them have established subsidiaries or even engineering and production facilities. Adding to that, there are many other smaller overseas laser producers represented by a big group of Japanese distributors. Laser product segment on the right includes manufacturers of laser diode and other components or systems and equipment that is not used for laser processing. Some of the companies are well-known producers like Toshiba, Shimatsu, Sumitomo, big and with wide range of products related to lasers and photonics. Some of the smaller companies are Riken Optek, producer of laser safety equipment, and Kanare, a cable manufacturer that just recently started also development of laser products. Now in the life science applications, as mentioned, leading type is spectroscopy, with the companies like Jasco, Hitachi, Canon, Otsuka, Horiba. One of the recent companies is Medical Photonics, and they are developing non-invasive blood test technology based on light scattering analysis in near-infrared spectrum. Canbas is another small startup using flow cytometry to do cell phenotype screening to help in cancer drug development by giving insights into how drugs affect the cells. Microtrack is a manufacturer of optical particle analyzers, laser diffraction, dynamic light scattering, and image analysis systems. Nanophoton produces laser Raman microscopes. Nidec manufactures ophthalmic laser systems for eye treatment, and Yoshida produces dental laser treatment systems. In Europe, one of the best-known photonics company from Japan, of course, is Hamamatsu. They also do industrial manufacturing solutions like laser wafer dicing used by BISCO semiconductor system producer and have a variety of products for medical applications. Hamamatsu Photonics has a whole in-house supply chain for the most important and critical products, but as they do a lot of new developments, they collaborate with other suppliers too. Hamamatsu is also active in technology scouting. They just started this activity in Europe. Now, in Japan, many companies have a very long history. From the reviewed companies, 59% have a history of 50 years or longer. HIA Corporation, the oldest from the list, is a huge company that is involved in a diverse range of applications, from energy to aeronautics. The laser-related activities are laser welding technology development. For example, they use that even for bridge welding in infrastructure projects. Furukawa Electric, another huge company with a diverse product portfolio, produces industrial fiber lasers and flow cytometry systems. From 2015, Furukawa is collaborating with Fanuc to produce fiber laser components. Also, there are many old companies in the life science sector. For example, Olympus, Fujifilm, Hoya, they all manufacture endoscopy solutions. Shimatsu, Nikon, and Horiba all offer analytical equipment for life science. Yokogawa is making confocal scanning systems for life cell imaging. And looking at the new companies, the picture is very different. There are not many of them. And a few are the Brookman Technology. They specialize in the design of advanced CMOS image sensors for IR depth and high-speed imaging. Optocom is a spin-off of University of Tokyo. They are developing products based on optical frequency comp technique. QD Laser has its roots in the University of Tokyo also, and a Fujitsu, manufacturer of quantum dot lasers. The company has recently received 2017 PRISM Award for its fiber laser feeder. And more of information about the companies is of course available in the report. This is just short versions. Now, to reach a Japanese customer, often a distributor is the first gateway. Some of the distributors are big corporations in Japan with hundreds of products, and others are specialized in just certain kinds of products. When dealing with big corporate distributors, it is important to remember that usually because of hundreds of products and standardized processes, there can be a lack of active sales. I've heard that several times. The specialized distributors, on the other hand, are much more active in promoting niche products, and there are a lot of distributors. Only in the market report, 56 photonic distributors were reviewed. Distributors that have seamless collaboration with suppliers and can provide fast and local service are in a favor. Because of customers in Japan, they desire quality and fast service. If there is a need to send the equipment overseas for service, it is usually a big hurdle. Just a few from the list. Japan Laser is one of the biggest specialized photonics distributor, representing companies such as Newport, Amplitude, and Quantel. Quantum is a distributor that is also a joint founder with Yanoptic of Yanoptic Japan. Architect Leo is new but with a very experienced founder. Phototechnica is also a reliable partner with a competent staff. Tokyo Instruments employ in Japan suppliers engineers for servicing and installing the dedicated products. So this is a very good example how to provide a good service to the customer, employ the supplier's engineer, and the engineer learns a lot, and the distributor shows the commitment. Altex, another one of the top distributors in Japan, always invites suppliers to the exhibitions. They participate to meet with the customers, and they emphasize that this relationship with the customer, distributor, and the supplier is very important to keep it very close. And most of the distributors were open for the discussions related to new products and suppliers. And the complete detailed list of distributors is also available in the report. To look for companies in the relevant fields of applications, associations are a good place to start. In Japan, where bureaucratic ways are still very strong, there are many organizations that companies are involved with. However, trying to approach companies through the association often can be difficult. These associations sometimes were closed just in Japanese language, and they don't want to share too much information about the partners and to bother them. Over 40 of them were reviewed in the report. Please take a look there for more details. You can find interesting companies related to the different associations. Okay, now let's switch to research institutions. Even though Japan has many Nobel Prize winners, as we know, in physics and other sciences, according to Nature Index, a database that tracks the output of high-quality research publications, Japan is falling behind every year, as pictured here in the reddish color. Some of the reasons are the declining number of young researchers and the funding. Now the government tries to increase the support, but for that to take effect, some time will have to pass. And according to the Ministry of Education, Culture, Sport, Science and Technology, in short, MEXT, analysis on Japan's R&D spending, Japan is in the 4th place in 2014 by the amount spent on research, just behind US, EU, and China. National Japanese R&D spending in 2015 amounts to 139 billion euro, and private sector takes care of 70% of that amount. As a consequence, according to 2015 research performance analysis by MEXT, again, Japan is among the leaders regarding the patents. The top 10 leading Japanese institutions for high-quality science, according to this Nature Index, are the University of Tokyo, Kyoto, Osaka, Tohoku universities, and then Riken rounds up the top 5. General research direction in Japan is set by the government, currently with the emphasis on Society 5.0. In the graphic here on the slide, you can have an idea what that looks like. And one of the ministries, MEXT, also has the following research priorities. As we can see, life science is also among them. Now, the directions set by the government and ministries are carried out through the research funding organizations. One of the main is the Japan Science and Technology Agency. They have established research programs, and there are some topics related to photonics. I don't have details here, more in the report. This agency also participates in the joint funding programs with the European countries, and in 2018 there is a joint program with Germany in optics and photonics. The ministry from the German side is also taking care of this collaboration. Then there is NEDO. NEDO focuses on energy and industrial technology developments. They have a budget of over 1 billion euro, and it is divided like in the pie chart. The numbers are in million euros. So the relevant area, new manufacturing technology, has 24 million euros of funding for that. And Japan Society for the Promotion of Science, they have funds and mainly deal with the funding of researchers that want to do research in Japan. So for any topic, they can provide funding for that. Now, there are a lot of research institutions in Japan, and they are spread throughout the country, as you can see in the pie chart. Tokyo, Ibaraki, and Osaka have the most of them related to photonics. Now, according to research, they are also widespread, but from the conversations with companies, the general description was that Osaka area is the center for laser processing, Kyushu and south of Japan for medical applications, Shizuoka is tightly connected to Hamamatsu Photonics, Ibaraki has AIST, and Saitama Riken, the two biggest institutes in Japan. In Osaka, the most relevant institutions are Osaka University. Also, there is a private institute for laser technology that provides services for the industry in several areas. The biggest university is the University of Tokyo. It also has lots of initiatives with photonics, and they have lots of startups originating there. QD Laser is one of the notable ones. Tokyo is also home to the University of Electrocommunications with 3 photonic research centers. Worth to mention are also Kyushu University with OLED technology research by Chihaya Adachi and the team. Also OISTA, probably the most international research institution that is also involved with photonics. And the most recent university in this report is the Graduate School for the Creation of New Photonic Industries that was established by Hamamatsu Photonics, Shizuoka University, and other partners with a focus completely on the photonic research in various areas. More details about the research organizations, please look in the report. About the government initiatives too, Japan's government, they don't support very much the photonics, but there are some initiatives, more details about that in the report. Now, during the research, the public procurement analysis was done to find out what kind of equipment organizations are buying and from who. The data was gathered using a quick scan service by EU Japan Center, and the following keywords were used, as you can see in the box. The analysis found the total of 7,389 calls for the available period of over about 5 years. In 2017, there were 931 calls discovered, and the details of the calls were only available for the top 20 most recent calls in each category of the keyword. That totaled to almost 200 calls with details, and the amount of those calls was 16 million euro. On this slide, you can see how many calls were found for each keyword in the total range and in the year of 2017. I have combined the spectrometer and spectroscope into spectroscopy group, and that is the biggest group, followed by laser systems, laser processing, and then lasers. Comparing the calls for the whole period in just 2017, the distribution looks to be quite consistent. And there were 63 unique organizations that have purchased photonics-related products from the available data. From those, 9 organizations amount to almost 50% of all calls. about 8 million euro. If looking, these are the first box to the left. If looking at the biggest purchases by the amount, there are several leaders in the top, as you can see. The femtosecond OPCPA system suite for over 500,000 euros was for the University of Tsukuba. In the second place, by the biggest amount, is integrated femtosecond titanium sapphire regenerative amplifier for over 400,000 euro for AIST, the institute, and the ultra-short pulse wavelength tunable laser system for almost 400,000 euros for the Kyoto University. If looking at the companies that won the most calls, the middle table, in the top 5 that all have more than 100 wins this year, the first is JASCO Corporation. They do spectrometers. The second is Coherent and Spectrophysics, the foreign companies. The third is Nikon Instec. It's one of the biggest distributors of scientific equipment, and Rita Ikeda rounds up the top 5. It's also a distributor. And on the very right table, you can see the top distributors that won the most calls. From the information, more information and the bigger list of distributors is available in the report. But in general, the list is populated by the overseas companies and distributors. There are very little local Japanese manufacturers. Okay, let's take a look at the events. And during the research, 36 various exhibitions and over 20 conferences were found to be relevant to the topic. In addition, some of the organizations do matchmaking and company visit events that can be another good opportunity to meet potential partners. From the charts, it is clearly visible that manufacturing applications are dominating in the exhibition space, although the range for the manufacturing is very wide, from the automotive to batteries, precision manufacturing, nanotech, 3D printing, and so on. With the conferences, the picture is very different. The dominant topics are related to photonics, imaging, sensing, physics, and medicine. The manufacturing-related exhibitions are a good place to learn about the target industry where photonic solutions are being used, like in battery manufacturing, like semiconductor manufacturing, or nanotech inspection, biotech, and so on. Often it is not useful to participate with a booth in these kind of exhibitions, if you don't have the solution directly to the target industry. The better approach these exhibitions as a learning and networking opportunities. Now, the best place to exhibit in Japan are the photonics exhibitions for a wide range of applications. The industry favorite is OPIE in Yokohama, the first one. It's concurrent with 14 conferences on the wide range of photonic-related topics. OPIA and the conferences are held in April every year with about 15,000 expected visitors. Then Photonics is another photonics exhibition. If looking at the number of the visitors, it is the biggest photonics exhibition in Japan with almost 60,000 participants. However, the visitor count is collected for 8 exhibitions happening concurrently. There are a lot of people there, but most of them don't come for photonics. So most people were very skeptical about this exhibition, although a significant number of photonics companies participated in this exhibition. Then All About Photonics is another exhibition dedicated to photonics in October with over 4,500 expected visitors. One feature of this exhibition is that it is concurrent with the SIA Tech Japan, a big IoT and technology exhibition. Still, All About Photonics is a small exhibition, and some interviewees were a bit skeptical about that. And the last is Science Photonics Fair. It is also a small exhibition at the Science Museum in Tokyo with over 4,000 expected visitors, and distributors and local manufacturers participate there. It is not very international, but it's quite a good place to meet smaller companies. And some of the distributors also big bet on this exhibition with big booths, and they invite many foreign suppliers. So out of 17 conferences, I also looked at the conferences. With 7 of them, there is a sponsoring opportunity and a small exhibition. So it's also an opportunity to exhibit. Japan is also a place for some very big international conferences. So in 2017, Japan held OSA Laser Congress. the Congress of International Commission for Optics, and also the International Symposium on Laser Precision Microfabrication. And another kind of events is the matchmaking and company visit events organized by JETRO and SME Support Japan and the EU-Japan Center for Industrial Cooperation. These organizations help SMEs find partners in Japan. JETRO has a regional industry tie-up program. With it, JETRO organizes business delegations to and from Japan, as well as networking events. SME Support Japan has a similar program, CEO Network Enhancing Project, and also a database of companies in Japan that are interested in international collaborations. The EU-Japan Center for Industrial Cooperation also offers business missions to Japan for EU SMEs wanting to exhibit at the conference and have meetings with the companies or organizations in the industry. At the moment, the most relevant to Photonics are the two cluster support missions, one on nanotechnologies and another one on biotechnologies. And since Photonics is one of the key enabling technologies in Europe, and Japan imports lots of its photonics technologies, especially components like lasers and optics, it can be worth for EU to organize a mission around photonics too. The best exhibition for that would be the OPIA, and a potential partner could be, for example, Japan Laser Society or the OATDA. So let's sum up with the challenges and opportunities. Overall, Japan is an attractive market. It still holds big global market share in photonics and is becoming more open for collaboration. Big corporations want to stay on top and are looking for investments to fuel the growth. The market size, emerging openness, and dynamic photonics industry itself can benefit innovative EU companies in Japan. But there are challenges. First of all, the Japanese culture and language. It is a must to prepare in advance. Lots of resources on that available already. Then there is the need for patience and again preparation. The trusting relationship is very important. Also, you need to know the value proposition, as Japanese companies are usually quite advanced on their own and they prefer the local solution. So you have to really know what you bring to the table. Then there's many overseas companies and distributors already in Japan, so the competition is by no means small. Of course, that depends on the product. Also, setting up an office, if going further, and finding employees can be challenging. Best to collaborate with partners or distributors or ask for help from the government organizations. Also, keep in mind that generally the industry is conservative and companies might not be willing to try drastic things or very new. And furthermore, the total market is decreasing, although some of the areas are on the rise. And the main players are big corporations. That is much more difficult to approach than the smaller and nimbler companies. Now, aside from the challenges, there are opportunities. First of all, the market is still attractive. Japanese companies account for 30% of global photonics production if we count the production done worldwide. And during the research, it was also discovered that 40% of Japanese companies have a presence in Europe. So this increases the accessibility, as it is generally easier to approach the Japanese companies through the European office. And there are a lot of examples of overseas companies successfully working in Japan, so it clearly can be done. The two directions that this report was focused on are also important and growing in Japan. Life science is a priority for the government, and industrial manufacturing is a huge industry, and it's on the wave of converting to novel methods, including photonic technologies for processing or inspection. Good news is that Japanese companies in the recent years are becoming more and more open to collaborations. I've heard that several times from the people I've talked to with the overseas companies. And growing corporations are getting more active in technology scouting, like Sony and Hamamatsu mentioned. And in Japan, there are a lot of R&D centers, and new developments are great opportunities to initiate those collaborations when the products are just being developed. Also, there are some joint research opportunities, especially with Germany in photonics and optics. And last but not least, since Japan has a declining population, most companies would seriously consider foreign professionals. And here are some trends that were mentioned while talking with the companies and organizations. The top left part is in industrial manufacturing and the bottom right is in life science and medical applications. The scheme is also available in the report. And some suggestions are the following. So aim to start the business with a Japanese company in the R&D stage, and it is expected in general it will usually take no less than 2 years for the product to hit the shelf. Also, don't focus on the management only while approaching the company. In Japan, engineering usually has more influence on the decision, as usually they carry the responsibility and not the manager. Initially, it is advisable to start with the distributors and build a good relationship with them, with customers often, visit customers often, and offer fast and efficient service, because the Japanese customers are very, they have big needs. If you decide to open an office, a good idea is to stick with a distributor and use their help in setting up a possibly joint operation. As for events, industry exhibitions like Semicon or NetCon for manufacturing are for learning, and photonics exhibitions can be a good place to exhibit. But you have to know the market and what value you bring to the potential customer, as in general, Japanese solutions are preferable. And as for location, the area around Tokyo is still the most concentrated with photonics companies and research institutions. And that is it. Thank you. As mentioned several times, the more information is available in the report. And now it's time for the questions. Thank you.